Denver 7 On Demand is brought to you by Ferguson and BAC Appliance Center, the best in bath, kitchen, and lighting for your home.
I'm Shannon Ogden with the latest from Denver 7. The newest member of the State Ethics Commission has some ethics concerns of her own, serious enough that she ended up agreeing not to drink at work functions anymore or touch employees past a handshake. The allegations against Debra Johnson were first reported today by Colorado Public Radio. Denver 7's Megan Lopez is digging into the claims against a woman who just weeks ago was considered one of the state's most beloved employees.
I move House Resolution 1010.
In the midst of a contentious 2019 legislative term with deep party divides,
We are appointing Debra Johnson.
a vote like this rarely happened.
House Resolution 1010, all those in favor, voice vote aye. Opposed, no. The motion is passed.
Unanimous approval for Debra Johnson to serve on the state's Independent Ethics Commission. It's a commission that looks into reports of ethical violations by local and state government employees. But just about 2 weeks before Johnson is set to participate in her first commission hearing, allegations of misconduct have surfaced from 2016 when she served as Denver's clerk and recorder.
The allegation was that the clerk lifted the dress of one of the female staffers.
Amber McReynolds is the former director of elections for Denver.
It was a really difficult situation, to be honest with you.
She's the one who reported those allegations to the city attorney's office.
My involvement was to protect and try to help the staff.
Denver 7 obtained city attorney records showing that investigation cost $30,000 in legal fees. McReynolds says eventually an agreement was reached for Johnson to go to counseling and
Not drinking with staff, not coming to the office without coordinating a visit, not meeting with staff individually. You know, she was a very good clerk and recorder.
Jane Feldman is the former executive director of the Colorado Ethics Commission.
That this should have been public knowledge before now.
Feldman doesn't think these past allegations will affect the decisions the commission makes, but
I think it does undermine a little bit the credibility of the commission.
House Speaker Casey Becker, meanwhile, who chose Johnson, sent Denver 7 a statement saying she didn't know about the allegations of misconduct until recently and that they were never brought up during the vetting process.
Clearly, there needs to be a better vetting process for anyone that is going to serve on the Ethics Commission.
Debra Johnson was not available for a comment about these allegations. Tensions are running high and tempers are flaring following the shooting of a 19-year-old man by Colorado Springs police. Officers say Devin Bailey was armed and was reaching toward his waistband when he was shot Saturday night. A witness claims she never saw a weapon and that police shot Bailey in the back. Well, on Monday, demonstrators gathered outside City Hall and at one point getting into a fight with two bail bondsmen and pushing one of the bondsmen's motorcycles over. That confrontation had to be broken up by officers with guns drawn. A Denver police officer seen putting a man in a chokehold has lost his appeal. Denver 7 was the first to bring you this video showing Officer Randolph Zuniga putting his arm around the throat of a man suspected of trying to break into cars. A review from the city found that not only is the chokehold not acceptable, but that the suspect did nothing to rise to that level of force. As such, Officer Zuniga's 30-day suspension stands. Brighton's water controversy is now well past a boiling point. A petition with nearly 1,800 signatures was submitted Monday calling for the special election to recall the mayor. A lot of people in the community are furious over the firing of the city manager, who they credit for bringing the public's attention questions about sky-high water rates and a $70 million surplus. In a statement, the mayor told us it is within citizens' rights to ask for a recall, but he believes many of the accusations against him are false. Adams County could be the very first in the state under the new law to increase oil and gas setbacks. A proposal calls for all new wells to be at least 1,000 feet from homes and businesses, and that's doubled what's required by state law. It's unclear how many councilors support the idea, but they could start holding meetings about it by the end of the month. Well, the new class of Denver City Councilors have zero interest in doing things the old way, and that's especially true for Candy Sidabaka, a self-described Democratic socialist who's already taking unprecedented action. Instead of letting a contractor for a halfway house to sail through, she's pulling it and asking for the public to weigh in. Denver 7's Jennifer Kovaleski explains.
Less than a month into her new job,
15 days.
Denver City Councilwoman Candy Sidabaka is already making waves.
It's crazy that informing the public is making waves.
At the center is this $3.9 million contract with a company known as Community Education Centers.
It's really a subsidiary of a corporation that we're hearing a lot about called GEO.
The same company who runs this Aurora ICE facility.
The entity that is detaining immigrants in inhumane ways.
For political activists.
My mom has been here for 5 months and they just took her away from my little brother.
And Colorado Democratic congressional leaders have toured.
This is a facility that is not designed for long-term housing.
Demanding change to for-profit detention centers like GEO.
There's a potential profit motive behind all of this.
This particular contract is for halfway houses. We also contract with them for ankle monitors and drug testing.
After connecting the dots,
unaware that Community Education Centers was GEO.
Tabaka pulled the contract with GEO off the consent agenda and is now calling for a public debate.
We don't typically pull out contracts for public comment, and that's something that I've been requesting.
I think it's a valid public policy issue to be raising.
Councilwoman at Large Debbie Ortega says she supports the conversation, but wants to make sure the city has a solid plan for what happens next.
We also have to make sure we have a place for these people to go.
I personally feel very uncomfortable rewarding a company that is violating human rights.
That's Jennifer Kovaleski reporting tonight. Boy, keeping up with our growing Colorado is not easy. Just ask the people running Lakewood or the community that has complained about the same issue for the last 2 years. Monday night, City will talk about what should be done about traffic around Lakewood High School. Well, last summer, the school restriped the parking lot to increase the number of spaces. But still, this is a school with 2,100 students and about 500 spaces. One neighbor likened it to living next to Bronco Stadium, said the on-street parking is just out of control. Now, the vice chair of an advisory commission told us parking really is only an issue when there's a ball game, and that normal school traffic is not a problem. Also Monday night, a small but very vocal group will protest about selling off 2 properties in downtown Parker. Essentially, the town wants to keep the Pine Curve area commercial and potentially bring in more shopping. But some in the community argue that is the last thing Parker needs, and instead wants that property to be turned into open space. Those 2 sides are expected to clash at the council meeting. Well, Boulder leaders are ready to crack down on smoking, and they have a couple ideas how to do it. The first involves raising the age for buying tobacco to 21 and banning flavored products altogether. The second would see cigarettes taxed at 15 cents a piece, or an extra $3 per pack. There's a third that would see taxes hiked, but only on tobacco products other than cigarettes. And those last 2 would have to go to voters before taking effect. All 3 will be up for debate at Tuesday's City Council meeting in Boulder. And from the First Alert Weather Center, let's take a look at the forecast. We are in a trend here of hot days and showers in the afternoon. It looks like that's going to continue with varying degrees of severity, and that's what we have Mike Nelson for. So keep it here in Denver 7 to keep track of that. This has been your Denver 7 On-Demand Update. Thanks for checking us out. We'll have another one for you later. Download the Denver 7 app for breaking news and alerts. I'm Shannon Ogden.